I lost somebody. She'll come back. I lost somebody. She'll come back. I lost somebody. She'll come back. I lost somebody. She'll come back.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. Matters of Faith is a show designed to bring issues of interest to you, the listening audience, that will challenge, encourage, motivate, and inspire you to keep the faith. I am your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell, and it's my job to engage you in stimulating dialogue that's inspiring, encouraging, motivating, dialogue and conversations that will help you build your determination, your commitment, and your character. Conversations that will help you keep the faith. Everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith. 1 John 5 and 4. And now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, without further ado, it is time for Matters of Faith, the radio show.
Good evening, everybody. It's Monday, July 3rd, 2023. It's 8 o'clock and it's time for Matters of Faith, the radio show. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. J. Lauren Russell. And tonight we're going to be discussing the article and the topic from the inside out. And my very special guest tonight from the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force Metropolitan Chapter, Captain John J. Laguer, Lieutenant Yvette Peak, Chaplain Nakisha Turner, and Chaplain ShaKemia Williams. You don't want to miss this. Telephone, tell a friend to tune in tonight. This is going to be a phenomenal conversation with some phenomenal people who are doing phenomenal work from the inside out. Make sure you telephone and tell a friend. Don't miss it.
Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.JLORENRUSSELL consulting.com. That's www.JLaurenRussellConsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel.
And let me add one more thing. Make sure you subscribe to Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com, www.abettermag.com. They're one of the sponsors of Matters of Faith. They carry the article. Please, let's support one another. www.abettermag.com. Just wanted to give you a reminder that on July 12th, Wednesday, I will be installed as the district governor for District 7230 of Rotary International. This is an historic event. I really don't want you to miss it. If there's any way possible, please join us. It will be at the Pelham Bay Split Rock Golf Course, 870 Shore Road in the Bronx. Ticket prices, reasonably priced, $125, except if you buy two. Then the cost is $100 a piece. My theme for the year, not me, but we. And the international theme, create hope in the world. Maybe you can join us and we'll begin the process, continue the process, work on the process of creating hope and keeping hope alive. Let's do that, y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate you immensely. You have no idea. I appreciate you so much. And now the article, From the Inside Out. And that article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. And Pamela's Big Heart Newsletter, From the Inside Out. Matthew chapter 25, verses 37 through 40 from the New King James Version. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. From the inside out. In the scripture text, Jesus is continuing a conversation he began in chapter 24, teaching his disciples the need to be prepared. When he gets to the latter part of the chapter, his disciples are trying to make sense of what Jesus meant when he said the Son of Man will separate the righteous from the wicked, the righteous on the right side and the wicked on the left. To both he will say, I was hungry and I was thirsty, a stranger, naked, and a prisoner. To those on his left, the wicked, he would say, you gave me no food. You gave me no water. A stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you gave me no clothes. In prison, and you did not visit me. But to those on his right, so here's what I'm going to do, everyone. I'm going to bring my guests in, and I'm going to let them listen to the article as it's being read, and then we'll take it from there. Okay? So just to let you know, that's why I stopped it. We're going to bring everybody in, and then we'll do the article. So here we go. Matthew chapter 25, verses 37 through 40 from the New King James Version. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. From the inside out. In the scripture text, Jesus is continuing a conversation he began in chapter 24, teaching his disciples the need to be prepared. When he gets to the latter part of the chapter, his disciples are trying to make sense of what Jesus meant when he said the Son of Man will separate the righteous from the wicked, the righteous on the right side and the wicked on the left. To both he will say, I was hungry and I was thirsty, a stranger, naked, and a prisoner. To those on his left, the wicked, he would say, you gave me no food. You gave me no water. A stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you gave me no clothes. In prison, and you did not visit me. But to those on his right, the righteous, he said, you gave me food. You gave me drink. You took me in, gave me clothes, and visited me in prison. As it was in the ancient world, so it is in our postmodern world. Those who beg for bread, seek water, homeless, naked, or in prison are, as the Bible declares, the least of these. In other words, the most needy among us. They represent everyone who is in need without the ability to help themselves. They can also be those who are simply different than we are by color, social status, age, culture, language, even looks. anything that makes them different from us and gives us a reason to look down on them. To quote from CTI Chaplaincy Training Institute Certificate of Basic Training book, quote, chaplains usually minister to a group of people of many different religious beliefs or no religious beliefs at all. They usually represent many different cultural identities, including those of education, profession, and political persuasion, unquote. Chaplains, whether they serve institutions or the community at large, are noted for their concern for humanity regardless of any of the aforementioned. They feel that they have a calling to serve, and that calling exhibits itself from the inside out. Chaplains specifically are categorized as righteous. It doesn't matter whether the recipient of their benevolence is the least of these or just different based on some preconceived notion. Chaplains are called to serve. Chaplains must transcend stereotypical labels to share and show the love they have on the inside with those on the outside. Paul wrote a letter to the church in Rome where he emphatically stated that his readers needed to be transformed by the renewing of their mind, that they may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12:2. Chaplains are not doing their work so that their minds will be transformed. Their minds are already transformed, which is why they do the work. No denominational limitations, no ecclesiastical apartheid. They just love from the inside out. There are many people in our communities with a chaplain spirit. They share love from the depths of their heart without the benefit of a title or an assignment. They give because it's on the inside, and they can't wait to get it to the outside. The fact that you're reading this article is an indication that you want to get the best out of you. Whatever your motivation is for reading, you would not have read this far had you not an inkling that something you would read was going to stir up the best in you. Whatever your faith, persuasion, educational level, race, creed, or color, I believe that the spirit of the chaplain can be stirred in you so much that you will right here and right now begin to show on the outside what's going on inside. Be blessed. Now here's my question tonight. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? Let me ask that question again. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? This gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce this panel that's going to join us tonight on Matters of Faith to discuss from the inside out. John J. Laguer is a disciple of St. Luke's Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Shane Hilliard. He's a licensed minister and serves in many capacities inside and outside of the confines of St. Luke's. He serves as the corresponding secretary of the John L. Scott Associate Ministers Auxiliary. He also serves as the worship leader and coordinator for the 35 minutes of praise, inspiration, and intercession for the Thursday noonday prayer service for that auxiliary. As a retired officer from the New York City Department of Corrections, he is ably equipped to oversee the activities of all chaplains in his newly appointed rank of captain of the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force Metropolitan Chapter. Captain John is married to the lovely lady Beatrice C. Laguer. Yvette Peak is a disciple of the Antioch Baptist Church, where Reverend Dr. Sean T. Atkins is the pastor. She serves on the intercessory prayer ministry, and Chaplain Peak has been employed in the insurance industry for over 25 years and presently works as an administrative assistant with a prominent insurance company. She is a graduate of the initial graduating class of 2022 of the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force, Metropolitan Chapter, and was recently promoted to the rank of lieutenant. Her love for community services has prompted her to seek membership with the Harlem Rotary Club. Her primary goal in life is to continue serving the Lord and being obedient to the call He has on her life. She has two rays of constant sunshine in her life, who are her two adult children. Lieutenant Yvette Peak. Nakisha Turner was born and raised in Harlem, New York, and she is the mother of 3 boys, a grandmother, and the eldest of 12 children. She has a desire to know, understand, and then find a way to make a difference not only in her life, but also in the lives of her family, friends, and neighbors. Her transformation journey has not been easy, yet her love for Jesus has enabled her to stand firm and learn how to do it God's way. She currently holds a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's in business administration from Monroe College, and received her master's of divinity from that great theological seminary known as Drew. Reverend Nakisha has been a chaplain for 10 years in the healthcare system and currently a board certified chaplain with the Association of Professional Chaplains. She is currently a hospice chaplain in New Jersey, and lest we forget, a graduate with the second cohort in the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force Metropolitan Chapter. Chaplain Nakisha Turner.
And I say Nakisha, but I really meant Nye. N-I, Nakisha, not Nah, it's Nye.
ShaKemia Williams can be defined as a woman of virtue, honor, and compassionate purpose. She has ministered with the Women of Virtue, Honor, and Purpose, where she has facilitated many conferences. She has served at the Antioch Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Sean T. Atkins, also White Rock Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Teresa Lloyd. Her ministry began with her own testimony of triumph through adversity with a strong belief of healing overcoming through faith. She is a supervising officer for the New York City Department of Homeless Services and also Calvary Hospital. ShaKemia is a proud mother of 1 son, Elias Brandon. It is in this way that she embodies her favorite scripture, which reads, I thank God upon every remembrance of you, Philippians 1 and 3. Chaplain ShaKemia is also a graduate of the second cohort of the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force Metropolitan Chapter. Chaplain ShaKemia Williams. This gives me a great deal of pleasure.
All right,
Yvette
now,
has a great deal of pride to
now,
introduce
I'm
us
going
the
to stop
Antioch
this
Baptist
whole
Church,
thing.
the
Hold
Reverend
on for a
Dr.
second.
Sean
I want
T.
to stop
Atkins
this.
on the inside.
I'm doubling up on
She serves
myself.
on the intercessory
John,
prayer
stop my
chair.
share.
And
Is a
Chaplain
disciple.
Hold
of
on
for a
Saint
second.
has been Baptist
Employed
Church
in
under
the
insurance.
I love this. This is like when I hear myself talking
He's a
all over the
licensed
place.
minister, administrative assistant.
I love myself when I hear myself talking all over the place. This is good. But thank you so much for being here. Let me come back on screen. There we go. And I heard an echo, so I wanted to get rid of that echo. And welcome, ladies. I don't know where my gentleman is. I'm going to demote him because he's supposed to be here. But good evening, ladies. How are you? And welcome to Matters of Faith, the radio show. I'm glad to see you.
Good evening, Chief. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so pleased to have you here. I was just all excited and stuff all day long, just thinking about the fact that we're going to get together and do this as a team. I want to ask you a question. I ask this of all of my guests, so don't take it personally. But I read your bios, you know who you are, and now everybody else does too. But tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know. And I'm going to start with you, Lieutenant Peak.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the recently promotion as lieutenant, because as of this afternoon, I was still sergeant. So thank you, and I appreciate that. But what a lot of people don't know about me, and I think you and I have spoke about this before, as outgoing and as outspoken as I am and can be, I'm a back person. You know, I like to do things in the background. I'm not one to be out in the open. If you call me to do something, I'll do it, but I'm standing on that shaky branch. I love people. I am a people person. I love to get along with people. And that's just basically my overall aspect. I love life. And people say you only live once. You live life every day. And I try to make the best of it. So basically, that's Lieutenant Peak in a nutshell.
Very good. Now I'm going to go to Chaplain Turner, who's been a chaplain longer than everybody.
So, amen. To God
yeah.
be the glory. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the invite. The thing that I guess you need to know is I love dealing with people who are dealing with trauma. I believe that the church has been the first place to help right? That is the history of the church. It has been the first place to help. And I believe that that is the place where our young people can go to help with their trauma. And so even as I say that, I am working with people, helping them to unpack their trauma that they go through, that I realize that our young Black people don't even know that they are dealing with trauma. So the thing that I love to deal with is healing, right? I have a friend, and her name is Tisa Joyner Nance. I'm going to give her the shout out. And her motto that I have adopted is healing is our only agenda. And I have adopted that, and I have used that for everyone that I come in contact with. Healing is our only agenda. And no matter what that looks like for you, healing is the thing that we're working towards so that you can move in your purpose and be who God has called you to be. And yes, I believe everybody has a purpose. So yeah, that's the thing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. ShaKemia. I like the way you did that. ShaKemia. Right? Is that the way you like to be called?
Kima.
Kima? Okay. So where's
That's
the I come from? Where's the I coming from?
You gotta ask my mama.
I got you. I got you. So come on, Kima, tell me something about you that we don't know we really should know.
Oh, I am the 12th child of 13 children. I come from a very large family, very large faith-based family. Something about me, I am my mother's clone. So I look like her, I pray like her, and I use that as I navigate through this chaplaincy and through this new journey in my life. So for those who didn't know, like that's one thing that I do share, that my family is a very large family, very large family.
If you're 12 or 13, we kind of gathered that you guys make up a majority all by yourself. You got two basketball teams and some reserves on the side.
And we all pray. So
that's
the better part. So for those who didn't know that about me, that's the special thing that I like to share that with people, because sometimes, like, when you tell people that you come from a big family, they think poverty or some type of struggle, but for us it was different. We learned prayer, and we learned prayer, we learned love, we learned just how we learned stewardship. Like, what our foundation just was built very different. And we still have that connection till today. So that's one thing that I always tell people about myself. I speak about my family.
Well, that's good, because I know between you and Nakisha, tonight we're gonna have an abundance of people, because she's from a family of 12. So y'all just got everybody going. That's fine. I'm perfectly good with that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, by the way, before I bring in Captain Laguer, and by the way, you might want to just blur your background, because your background is making you fade in and out. You're going ghost on us. So just put a blur in your. No, I'm talking about the Captain Laguer. Everybody else is fine.
Okay.
So Nakisha, you come from a large family too. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, she is the youngest, and I would be the oldest of 11 brothers and sisters. So I guess that's the opposite end of the spectrum. I don't know that we were poor, right? I don't know that we lived in poverty. At least it never felt like it. I understand we're coming from a family of people who pray, right? I knew my great grandmother, and not many people can say that. She lived to be 100 years old.
Wow.
And we have a very that's just on my mom's side. I'm not even going to talk about my dad's side, because that's just way too many people. But we come from a huge family that has always been a little bit of a lot of things, right? So yes, we are in church, but we're a little thugged out too, and we can be, but we love the Lord out loud and on purpose, right? And so as Keisha would say, and so Yeah, my mom and dad, they've been married like 54 years and they are still married. And I'm probably throwing out numbers that's not true, but it's more than 50 plus years. And I can't quite, I mean, matter of fact, they just celebrated an anniversary June 20th.
Oh,
So,
all right, all right.
right. And so, yeah. And my mom, as she is, we get our love of people from my mom and dad. My mom, just because it's Tuesday, will bring out the grill and the fryer and cook for the entire neighborhood.
Where
Just
y'all live at? Where y'all live? I'm coming about. Where y'all at? Where y'all at?
right, just because in Harlem, just because it's Tuesday. And so our love of people comes from my mom and my dad. They've always made sure that everybody around them were okay. And so that's just who we are. But I think that comes from having a large family. You learn to forgive quick because you can't be mad at your sister. Get out of here. Right. You learn to love past what people say and what they do, because this is your brother, this is your sister, and this is your cousin. And right. And so, in my mom's building, somebody lives on the first floor, second floor, third floor, fourth floor, like family. And so it is a building full of people. You cannot stay upset, get over yourself, go outside and play, right? You're going into someone's house. So I think where I learned to love, to forgive, to let go, to not hold on to things comes from a big family, because you don't have no choice. You have to, right? Yeah. So
I like that. That's interesting because my family is not as large. I come from I have two brothers and one sister, and my oldest brother passed away. So it's four of us. But we have a huge extended family. In fact, I'm going to family reunion this weekend down in North Carolina. Anybody from North Carolina? Well, I am. My
Alana,
dad is from North Carolina. And the last time we had a family reunion pre-COVID, we had 300 people there, which was not a bad showing. We're expecting more this year. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, Captain Laguer, you're here. So you know my routine. Tell us something about you that we don't know. We already read your bio. They know who you are. So tell us something about you that we don't know and we really should know.
We're talking about family now. Let me just say good evening to everyone. Mia and Genevieve, and just good evening, everyone. One of the things we're talking about family is, as a matter of fact, you're doing your reunion this week. We're having just a small gathering of family up at Rockland Lake State Park of maybe about 100 plus people. Now, I call that a small gathering because we also have a big family. That's just a vanilla slice of we're going to have to have a little cookout up there on Saturday. But in my family, I am also, I guess, semi-large. We're a family. My mother I had 6 siblings. One who's died and gone on to heaven. And of those 6, I fall as maybe the 5th, I think. And this is not counting a sister I never knew who died as a baby before I was born.
Everybody.
But I fall as the 5th of the 7. And 4 ahead of me are women. 1 below me, the one that's gone on the glory, that was a woman, and then my brother, my younger brother. Now, it was interesting about that. Me being, I think, and I don't mind telling my age now, I'm 58 now. I am actually the patriarch of my family. I don't have any older males, cousins, uncles, anything that are older than me at this point. And so that makes me the oldest male in my family.
Wow.
And being that at such a young age, that's a heavy crown, because many people come to me knowing that also me also being a preacher, right? They come to me for a lot of advice. So the family relies heavily on me. And most of them, I got so many older women in the family that are older than I, but most of they all lean on me for a lot of things. And so it's a heavy crown to wear, but I wear it proudly, and I do it proudly for the family. And so that the most people didn't know that about me. That makes me the patriarch, the oldest male in my family, cousins, my brother, no uncles that are older. That would be me.
Got you. By the way, just you don't have to mute yourselves because it's just a conversation between us. So you don't have to mute yourselves unless you got background noise going on, but you can leave it open because we're going to have a conversation. It's not going to be, I'm not going to ask you a bunch of, we're just going to have dialogue and conversation. So you can leave yourself unmuted and the picture on and stuff. And when we get to the top of the hour, I will let you know that, and then you can fade away, because then what I'll do at that point is I'll reread the article and I'll ask the challenge question again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at and bring in some of the comments that are being made by the people who are viewing, so that they can become a part of our conversation. So initially, we're just going to get our signals right. We're going to get our flow going, and then we're going to bring in the other people at the second half to bring in their comments, particularly as it relates around the question that I asked tonight. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? And when I thought about that, I thought about you guys in particular, because what we do as chaplains, and you read it in the article, chaplains have to be beyond themselves in terms of the service that they provide. And I'm glad that you guys gave the example, particularly you, Nakisha. You talked about your family just cooking and feeding the entire block, feeding everyone in the neighborhood. Well, that's kind of like a chaplain's heart, when you give, not because someone specifically needs it, but because anybody can benefit by it. And so that's a chaplain's heart. And that's what I wanted to talk with you about, because you guys have been from the first class, the second cohort, and then some longevity there as well. But you've been doing this for a long time. I think what we've been doing with the chaplaincy is simply putting a stamp of approval on everything that you've already been doing. So I'm going to open up with a general question and say, what did you think about the article when you read it?
For me.
Yes.
Right.
Anybody, you start.
So when I read the article, I thought of the least of these. And I think that is underlying chaplain, right? What you do to me. I thought that was what chaplaincy is, right, for me. And so for the least of these, for the last 10 years, have looked a lot different for me. I used to be the chaplain of a pediatrics hospital, and which is very hard. And so the least of these is not just the baby or the person in the young person in the hospital, but it's the mother dealing with their child dying, or which is a very bad term, but they call them frequent flyers, the kids who come in with congestive heart failure, with all of the other things, and their parents dealing and having to be there, go to work, leave their children inside the hospital. For me, being there with their children while they are gone, right? Because, some people don't understand how to do chaplaincy with children, and it's different, right? But there are many different ways. And so the least of these are helping the parents while they are at work, helping those who are dealing with immigration. I have a very big population out here in Morristown who are undocumented workers or undocumented people, and their children get sick and they're scared. They're scared to bring their children to the hospital. They're scared to leave them. And so providing a safe space for them to talk about it, providing a safe space for their children to talk about it is the least of these, right? Dealing with people of different religious backgrounds are the least of these, because we don't always deal with those of the same Christian, and Christianity is such a pack word, right? And so we don't always deal with those who are quote unquote Christians. That looks a lot in a different way. And so being able to talk with them, and more than that, being able to listen with your heart and sit in their journey with them, for me, is the least of these.
Thank you. And you have a unique position for yourself, because of the fact that you are an institutional chaplain. And for the most part, what we do in the New York State Chaplain Workers Task Force are community chaplains. And so you have a different and a unique way of seeing chaplaincy that many of us in our capacities won't see. So thank you for sharing that, because we may run into the immigrant on the outside, but you run into them on the institution on the inside. So thank you for that. Anyone else?
Yes, for me, when I read the article and I, saw the word least of these, not only are the least of these the homeless, the ones who can't feed themselves, the ones who go hungry, but to me, what came to mind are the ones who are dealing with mental illness. A lot of times they get lost in the crack, they get lost in the shuffle. They may need medication, they may need extra help. But right off the bat, when they see someone who's dealing with mental illness, they think crazy. They think belligerent. They're out to harm you. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the issue. They need help. They need the medication. They need someone to go after them. Are you taking your medication? Is there something I can do for you? And a lot of times they don't have that. And I've had a couple of people in my family who was dealing with mental illness. And it takes a lot on the family, but they had somebody. My brother, he had somebody. And we were after him. We were on top of him. He had someone. There's a lot of them out there that don't have anybody. And that's what I thought of when you say the least of these. And not only that, they tend to say, well, I don't want to take my medication. It makes me feel X, Y, and Z. And then you got to spectrum where they go so far over the end, committing suicide. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that's a big problem because I feel as though if they just had someone to help them on, to walk them through the process, because it's a process. If they had somebody to walk them to the process, I think it would make it just that much easier for them. So when I see the word least of these, I think of the mental illness.
I like that a lot. There's a special place in my heart for people with mental illness. You know, I don't know if you know it or not, but I used to work in a mental institution. And because of it, I have a different understanding of the whole process that people have challenges mentally go through. And the challenges or the changes that took place in society that, in my opinion, made it even worse for them. But thank you for sharing that. How about you, Kima?
When I thought about the least of these, I got a few things. Because I work with DHS, Department of Homeless Services. Right now, we're dealing with, excuse me, a lot of the asylum seekers that are in the hotels right now, and just knowing their stories and how they've come to the United States and seeking asylum and just really trying to make a better life. And then I also thought about the least of these, like those people who don't have a Dr. Lloyd to call, or who don't have a Dr. Russell to call. There are people out there who are really in positions where they have nobody to talk to, nobody to reach out to, nobody who they can call and say that I need prayer. They have no connection to nobody faith-based, and not even faith-based, or if they need help, they don't know how to seek help. So the least of these are those people who have nobody to that they can seek after for help, if I said that correctly. Excuse me?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Continue.
No, because some people have somebody who they can connect to, but what about those people that have nobody? And I thought about that with the asylum seekers. Like, they've come here and they have nobody who they've connected to, so they're in a new space and in a different place. And a part of the work that I do, even though that there's a language barrier, I still try to always see where I can fill the void, or try to help, and reach out and make sure that I'm meeting the needs.
That's very interesting. I was, as you were talking, what came to my mind was how you are put in a position to be able to be of assistance, maybe through your work, through your vocation, through your advocation, through your recreation, and many people just simply walk away and don't do anything. But what I'm hearing from you, Kima, is that doesn't happen because of the passion that you have. And I think one of
Right.
the things that takes place and that has happened is that you now have a cohort of people around you. They're called chaplains, that you can mobilize in ways that now you can perhaps provide those kinds of resources through your outside connection with the chaplains, and bring them in, whoever they may be, to assist in so many different ways. Because if they can't do it, maybe they have a connection with someone who can, and suddenly the needs of the least of these, because of your unique position that the Lord has placed you in, that you might
Right.
be able to do things that heretofore you weren't able to do because you didn't have that cadre on that network of things. I think what happens is the more we understand, and we've been talking about this, is putting together a directory of what the chaplains bring to the table, so that everybody has it at their fingertips. So whenever you're doing something, if you have a project in mind that you want to work with, you can look to see who in this circle can be of assistance. It's a great thing. I'm excited about that. That's good.
Good.
So, Captain, talk to us.
They didn't leave. Say, I want y'all to know they didn't leave me much to say, but it's an interesting term, the least of these, because when we hear that, we think of somewhat of the worst circumstances, like the homeless and people are down, but the least of these, right? When he mentions this in the Bible, one of the things we need to understand is the least of these. We're talking about people who are vulnerable, right? They have vulnerabilities, and because we're not just talking about the poor and the downtrodden, because there are some rich people who need help. I mean, they got money, but money can't solve everything. And so we start talking about the least of these. We talking about people who are vulnerable in certain situations. They were as I believe it was ShaKemia mentioned, people who are lonely. Chaplain Turner said she worked in the hospital. People are sick. So there were different needs for different people, right? Lieutenant Pete talked about people in the community which we deal with. We're talking about the least of these. Sometimes, watch this, even I'm the least of these because of some needs I may have, right? And so we tend to think of the people, when we say the least of these, are people who don't have anybody. There are people who have plenty of people who fit into that category who need your help. Right. And so I worked, and many of the viewers that I've been here a few times now know that my story is being a correction officer for 25 years. We talk about people visiting people in prison. It just so happened that for a good portion of my career, I worked in the visit area of the prison. So I would see the people that came in and visit. I would see people who didn't get visits and what they were going through. And I had to deal with people with the feelings they had because they felt alone, sitting in the prison cell. And I don't mean that literally or figuratively, because they have time out of their cells, but while they're watching, you see, you have one inmate watching people leaving all day, going out to visit people, and they have no one. They have no one to come see them. And so they rely on people like chaplains in the prison system, people like officers that are there. They just want someone watches to talk to, someone to listen. The least of these, the vulnerable. There's so many different vulnerable situations that we come across. And that's the thing that sticks to jump out at me most when we say the least of these. People who are vulnerable. And we're talking about socially, psychologically, economically, the disadvantaged. There's so many people that fit into this category. And we've all gone through it from time to time. And because we all come to a point where at some point we needed someone to help us. Right. And then there was times when you just might not have known where to go. And so as chaplains, we're called to help the least of these. And in my opinion, that's a broad topic. What that means to me is simply anyone who needs help. That's the least of these. Anyone who needs some help in a situation, that's the least of these.
Got it. Got it. You know, one of the things that in the article, when I was writing it and I was praying about it, one of the things that became clear to me is those disciples who asked. Remember that all of the disciples that were there, Jesus begins to tell parables about separating the sheep from the goat, right? One on the left and one on the right. The interesting thing is that none of them knew exactly what side they were on. They found themselves on either the left or the right. And Jesus then explained to them what side they were on when he started talking about the least of these. You know, I was hungry and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, you gave me no water. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was in prison, you didn't visit me. And he said, well, when did we see you like that? When did we see you hungry? And what the Lord revealed to me was something interesting. It's really interesting. If they had seen it was Jesus, they would absolutely have fed him, absolutely had given him water, absolutely had clothed him. But when he looked like somebody else, when he didn't look like what they thought, they said, I'm not helping him. I'm not helping her. Went on about their business. They did nothing. And the thing about this is that we are, if you will, those of us who've been called and commissioned have been called to a higher level of accountability. And so we can't disseminate, discriminate, or even begin to judge based upon some preconceived notion that we have about who should get help and who should not.
Oh, that's interesting.
We have to serve everybody. And I'm glad that you said what you said, Cap, because, you know, you can run into a person who is economically doing fantastic, has what you might call everything, all of the trappings of extreme success in every area of their life, and just as sad and broken, worse than the person living on the street. And you got to be able to discern that and then give ministry to comfort, come along beside, be the paraclete to deal with even people like that. Because as you said, all of you said it, everybody, it doesn't matter who they are, at some point or another, needs someone to come along beside them and to be of assistance to them. Even as Kimma said, that helps you in the mental illness phase. People are very wealthy. Having worked in a mental institution, I remember, I can't ever think of his name, but I think his last name was, I don't know, Kirsch or something like that. His dad was a extremely successful attorney at one of the biggest law firms in the world. And he said he could never find any help for him in all of the hospitals that he put him in. And the only place that seemed to help him at all was this state-run facility. Only one that helped him at all. And he was an engineer by profession, this patient. And nobody was able to help him except this state-run facility. And I say that to say this, money is not always what people need. There were people working in that hospital who had compassion and they had concern for this man, doesn't matter what his background was. And that, I think, exemplifies what happens in chaplaincy and in ministry as a whole. But it certainly exemplifies itself in chaplaincy because you have sort of stepped up on your own and said, I want to do this. I've got this calling in my life. Nobody's asked you about it, but you said that it was your calling. Okay, I'm done. That's it.
You know what's interesting? When the minute you started saying that, the same thing dropped in my spirit because we get really selective of people we want to help. Right? For instance, there are some who won't help anybody in a situation where there's nobody looking. All right. We love to be in front of the news cameras and the public can see us out there helping. But if none of that is involved, some of us won't even show up. All right. Because there is no advantage to it for us. And so some people get caught in a situation where by helping someone else, we're really trying to help ourselves.
Right.
And that's the danger of being in these situations, because when we talk about the least of these, those are the people sometimes nobody ever gonna see. You'll never know that nobody gonna know you helped them. From you, them, and God. And it's a sad statement that many of us won't be there to do that because there's no way, we feel like there's no advantage to it for us. And grow our ministries or whatever it is that makes us look good. in the eyes of the public. Many times we have to reach down and go where nobody else goes. And that's why when he said to the least of these, those are the people that nobody else is looking at. The least of these people nobody else is paying attention to because they're in some secluded, like we said, we're not talking about financially, but they're off on their own and they're not in the public eye. And so we don't realize that they need as much help as someone else, even if there seems like there's no advantage to it. There's always an advantage, in my opinion, not just as a chaplain, but as a person. There's always an advantage to helping someone. Always.
Yvette?
Yes, I'm
Talk to me a
here.
little bit. Talk to me a little bit about that. Expound on that for me about the least of these, because you kind of started with that as well. But talk about that. You talked about the mental issues and things of that nature, but there was some other pieces in the article. Maybe something else jumped out at you besides the least of these, but share with us.
What else jumped out in the article for me was describing having a heart for the people. And that's one of my character. I've always had a help me type of spirit. And my mother would kind of like get on me saying, you can't help everybody, but I try. And for me, that's the bottom line. As long as I tried, if it worked, fine. If it didn't, I put my best foot forward. And it was this young man in front of the supermarket the other day, and he tried to make eye contact with me when I went into the store, but I didn't have no money. I went into the store. I came out. He looked at me, and we made eye contact. He said, I'm just trying to get something to eat. I was like, okay. I said, I don't have any money on me. I said, but do you want me to go back in? He said, yeah. He was so excited. He said, yeah. So I was just going to go back in the store and pick him up something like a hot meal. But then the Holy Spirit said, no, ask him what he wants. So he said he wanted orange juice. He wanted some cheese, and he wanted, above all things, Sour Patch. Right? So I went to the store, got him the Sour Patch, and he was so excited. He was so like, nobody has ever did anything else. So, and to me, and that's another, to me, that was just being me. To me, I didn't do anything extra. I didn't do anything extraordinary. I was just being Yvette. I was just being the person who God had instilled in me, the love that I have for people, the least of these, the ones who can't do for themselves. And sometimes when you give the people money to go buy themselves something, the store owners don't even want them in the store. They can't even go in and get something for themselves. So you're doing an extra for them and not taking you out your way one way or the other, but you're just doing an extra. And it made him feel, his face lit up. And that was enough for me. His whole face, he said, thank you. Oh yeah, can you? And no problem. But me, I'm going to go and I'm going to get him a hot meal. That's not what he wanted. He didn't want the hot meal. He probably would have been grateful for the hot meal, but he wanted his orange juice. He wanted the Cheez-It, and he wanted his Sour Patch. And he said, can I have a big orange juice? I want it to last me through the day. No problem. What is it going to take for me? I was already buying myself groceries. What is it to put a little bit more on it? So for the least of these, they have a heart. I have a heart for them. It breaks my heart how we have gone. We are supposed to be the richest country, and we have so many people who are homeless, who can't do for themselves, who are hungry. You have older people, the least of these, who are trying to decide if they're going to eat or if they're going to buy their medicine. The least of these. So when I read the article, it's like I have a heart. That has been something instilled in me. And I didn't really even make the connection growing up that it was something God had instilled in me. I just thought it was just Yvette being Yvette. But no, that is something that God had put on my life. And I thank God that not only with this chaplaincy, but with my church as well, I'm making connection with other things that I never made a connection with before. You had asked earlier something that you guys don't know of me. I gave my life to Christ at 18 years old. But this is the time, this as an older person, that I see God is working in me and me through them. I've been through other churches, but this is the time, and God has a perfect time. And this is my time. I had an application for chaplaincy 10, maybe 12 years ago, but it wasn't my time. This is my time. And I thank God that he put me in this place with this chaplaincy and my church, my Antioch family, because it's making such a difference. And I just want to be a difference to my children. I want them to see what, and they have big hearts too. They're always out helping and things of that nature. But I just want to be a light. And you and I spoke about this before, Chief. Who am I to dim my light? Who am I not to have my light shine so it can better someone else? How dare me dim my light? How dare me dim my anointing? This is what something God has put into me. And I will refuse to shrink back anymore. So reading that article, I saw the love that it speaks about that we as chaplains have, that I have for the people, the least of these.
Well, two things I wanted to share that you said. Number one, your pastor tends to agree with you. She says you are a servant leader, no doubt about it. And I see that, and I saw that, and I recognize it. And I hope that my ability to be a judge of character is rewarding to those whom I'm serving. Because for me, it's not about anything that I get, because I'm like you, it's time, everything in its divine time. I would have never dreamt of this for myself. The other things that are happening in my life, I just, I guess to that extent, I'm like Richard Pryor. I take what is given unto me, because I know it's the Lord. He's given it to me. It's not something that I'm going out searching for and seeking for. The things in my life that have come to me that were the most significant and beneficial and life-altering have never been the things that I've sought after. They've been the things that have been given to me, the gifts that God has given. And I can probably venture to say there's a lot of people who can say the same thing, that the things that you sought after were not the things that made the biggest difference in your life and the lives of others.
I agree. The things that's happening to me now in my life, I would have never done this for myself. People recognize things in me that I don't see in myself. I just see it as me being me, but they see more. They see the anointing. They see the light. And it's not bragging on me, but it's bragging on God. It's bragging on how he sees me and how he wants me to help build his kingdom.
Love it. I love it. Nakisha, you look like you jumping at the bit, so come on, jump in. I know I can feel it. I see you just, it's like ready. Go ahead.
We were talking about the least of these, right?
Yes.
And why most people don't. But if we can be honest, it is hard to sit in someone's journey with them, right? It is hard to sit and go through with a person. One, it makes you feel the things that you haven't quite finished dealing with. And two, most people don't like to sit in silence. Silence is uncomfortable for a lot of people, right? And so even as we say into the least of these, and most people don't jump in, it is hard to jump in. It is hard to be a part of somebody's suffering. It is hard to be a part of somebody's hurt and pain, because usually you haven't quite dealt with your hurt and pain. What you've done is say, I'm okay. You've pushed it down. You planted some pretty roses and now they bloomed up. And then now you have to deal with somebody's stuff and you realize you got to pluck up your roses because you're stinking, right? And so sometimes when dealing with people and their stuff, sometimes we don't want people to jump in, right? We have to be careful with who jumps in. I was dealing with a death recently, and the people kept saying, and in all of their meaning well selves, kept saying all of the things that didn't help, God wanted them more, right? Or, God knows best. Or in the midst of that, I don't need to hear when my heart is broken what God knows. I already know that. It still doesn't take away my hurt and pain. And so to the least of these, in the midst of a suffering, be careful if you're not comfortable with suffering. Be careful if you're not comfortable with pain. Be careful if you want to say the Christian cliches, as I call them. They don't help. They don't help the person that you're with. It's one thing if a person says that, that's dealing with it. It's another thing if you're pushing it off on them. And so I am mindful when people want to help, right? All week, people were saying, I'm calling to check on you, but then they would dump all of their stuff on me. And, that was because I am who I am, I'm okay with you talking about your emotions and your feelings, right? But be careful. Be careful when you want to become the least of these, as Captain Laguer says, so that you can be seen. Or be careful because you think because you are a deacon or pastor or whomever your title is at this moment that you want to help out because of your title. Be careful, because you can do more harm than you can good.
I like it. I like it. Now you see, I
I
put the
agree.
screen up on the. I put my screen up. I'm sharing my screen again because we're about at that top of the hour, and so what I want to do is I want to share again the article and also the question and recognize those who support the ministry by their commitment to it. And so I've disappeared off of the screen for a moment. You can do likewise, and we'll come back in a few moments and we'll finish the show just as strongly as we started it. So y'all, those of you who are watching, I want y'all to answer. And we'll finish the show just as strongly as we started. You know the question, right? The question is very simple. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? Okay. All right. So here we'll go ahead and we'll do it, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors, the JLR Company and J. Lauren Russell Consulting, LLC, for all of your church financial consulting needs. Check out our website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. That's www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. Or simply give us a call, 718-328-8096, 718-328-8096. If you want to train your trustees, if you want to develop your property, if you need a church loan, give us a call. We'll be there to help. Matters of Faith, the book, can be purchased at my Cash App, $Matters of Faith. The cost of the book is $22.80. That's $22.80. You can send your check or money order to the JLR Company, Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. That's Post Office Box 301, New York, New York 10035. Don't forget to support our advertisers and our sponsors. 35. Get the book. It will absolutely bless your life. You can also get it as an ebook. All you need to do is go to www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. That's www.smashwords.com/books/view/993177. The book has no shipping and handling if you get it as an ebook. And also check out the Eat Okra app for all Black-owned restaurants all over the nation. That's right, Eat Okra. And finally, subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Make sure that you subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel.
And just one more thing. Make sure that you also subscribe to Better Mag Magazine. That's Better Mag Magazine. You can do it by going to www.abettermag.com. Subscribe, because it's a Black-owned, minority-owned, woman-owned magazine. They come out published every 3 months. They also carry my column, so please do that. Support those who support us. And not just that, but it's only like $27.50 for a 3-year subscription. So it doesn't take much. But if we support each other, we can get everything done. I'd like to make you aware of, and then extend an invitation to you, to join me in a significant event that will take place in my life on Wednesday, July 12, 2023, at which time I will be installed as the District Governor for Rotary International, District 7230. The event will take place at the Pelham Bay Split Rock Golf Course, 870 Shore Road in the Bronx. The event goes from 6 to 9 p.m. The ticket price is $125. However, if you purchase two, it's $200. You can use the QR code on your screen, or you can use the link at www.rotary7230.org. That's www.rotary7230.org. I thank you for all the prayers that you've always offered to me, the support that you've given me, and I'm hoping that you can be there to support me as I take on this new responsibility. It is monumental, it is historical, and I'd love you to be a part of it. Wednesday, July 12th, 2023, Pelham Bay Split Rock Golf Course from 6 to 9 p.m. I will be installed as the District Governor for District 7230 of Rotary International. And just the FYI, I said that a little bit kind of crazy about the cost. Ticket price is $125. However, if you purchase two, the price is $100 per ticket. It's $200 for two. That's number one. Number two, I will be the first African American to be in this role as district governor in this district. And this district has been in place for over 100 years. And I'll be the 11th district governor out of the club that I'm with. So we are truly exemplifying what is always called diversity, equity, and inclusion. So ma'am, sir, if you can join me, it would be great to see you as we take on this monumental task. And the person who's going to actually do the installation for me will be the borough president of the borough of the Bronx, Vanessa Gibson. And now the article, From the Inside Out. And that article can be found in my column, Matters of Faith, at the Bronx Chronicle, www.thebronxchronicle.com. Yonkers Insider, www.yonkersinsider.blogspot.com. Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. And Pamela's Big Heart Newsletter, From the Inside Out. Matthew chapter 25, verses 37 through 40 from the New King James Version. Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, Assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. From the inside out. In the scripture text, Jesus is continuing a conversation he began in chapter 24, teaching his disciples the need to be prepared. When he gets to the latter part of the chapter, his disciples are trying to make sense of what Jesus meant when he said the Son of Man will separate the righteous from the wicked, the righteous on the right side and the wicked on the left. To both he will say, I was hungry and I was thirsty, a stranger, naked, and a prisoner. To those on his left, the wicked, he would say, you gave me no food. You gave me no water. A stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you gave me no clothes. In prison, and you did not visit me. But to those on his right, the righteous, he said, you gave me food. You gave me drink. You took me in, gave me clothes, and visited me in prison. As it was in the ancient world, so it is in our postmodern world. Those who beg for bread, seek water, homeless, naked, or in prison are, as the Bible declares, the least of these. In other words, the most needy among us. They represent everyone who is in need without the ability to help themselves. They can also be those who are simply different than we are by color, social status, age, culture, language, even looks. Anything that makes them different from us and gives us a reason to look down on them. To quote from CTI Chaplaincy Training Institute Certificate of Basic Training book, quote, chaplains usually minister to a group of people of many different religious beliefs or no religious beliefs at all. They usually represent many different cultural identities, including those of education, profession, and political persuasion, unquote. Chaplains, whether they serve institutions or the community at large, are noted for their concern for humanity regardless of any of the aforementioned. They feel that they have a calling to serve, and that calling exhibits itself from the inside out. Chaplains specifically are categorized as righteous. It doesn't matter whether the recipient of their benevolence is the least of these or just different based on some preconceived notion. Chaplains are called to serve. Chaplains must transcend stereotypical labels to share and show the love they have on the inside with those on the outside. Paul wrote a letter to the church in Rome where he emphatically stated that his readers needed to be transformed by the renewing of their mind, that they may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Romans 12:2. Chaplains are not doing their work so that their minds will be transformed. Their minds are already transformed, which is why they do the work. No denominational limitations, no ecclesiastical apartheid. They just love from the inside out. There are many people in our communities with a chaplain spirit. They share love from the depths of their heart without the benefit of a title or an assignment. They give because it's on the inside, and they can't wait to get it to the outside. The fact that you're reading this article is an indication that you want to get the best out of you. Whatever your motivation is for reading, you would not have read this far had you not an inkling that something you would read was going to stir up the best in you. Whatever your faith, persuasion, educational level, race, creed, or color, I believe that the spirit of the chaplain can be stirred in you so much that you will, right here and right now, begin to show on the outside what's going on inside. Be blessed. Now here's my question tonight. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? Let me ask that question again. In what ways have you created your own definition for the least of these? You know who they are. They've introduced themselves. Fabulous group, wonderful to work with. I'm so excited for them being with us tonight. So without further ado, I bring back to you Captain Minister John J. Laguer, Chaplain Lieutenant Yvette Peak, Chaplain Reverend Nakisha Turner, and Chaplain ShaKemia Williams. I think I'll bring my picture back on screen now. I think you can see me. I've done all the talking and all of that stuff is out of the way. I'm going to stop my share and we're going to talk. So thank you for allowing me to do that. Thank you for being with us again. I'm so excited about you being here. As we were going through that, I was thinking about the article and a couple of things came to mind, and then I'm gonna look at some of the comments that have been made. But in the article, it talks about, and I said that the disciples were trying to figure out what Jesus was talking about when he says separate the righteous from the wicked. They didn't quite understand that. What did you think about that? That when Jesus talked about separating the righteous from the wicked, if you had been standing there with the disciples, what would have came through your mind if you were one of them?
So for me, I would have had to check my heart because we don't always get it right. There's some days that I don't want to be nice, if we could just be transparent and honest. There's some days where people will take you all the way to the other side and you want to get them. And so today, are you talking about me being the wicked? Are you talking about because of the way my emotions are going or the way that I'm feeling, am I the wicked? Right. So yeah, they didn't know because, there's no good thing in me. Right. And all of my righteousness is as filthy rags. And so are you talking about because I have these feelings or because I have these emotions or because I have these thoughts, am I the wicked? And so I can relate to, like, where you going with this, Jesus? What we doing here, right? Because I'm trying. And so is that the reason why I'm the wicked? So I can understand, or at least try to understand and relate to where they were trying to figure out, is he talking about me?
But that was also good because it gave everybody an opportunity to check themselves. Because a lot of times we can be like she said, we can be judgmental and thinking that Jesus is talking about somebody else, but he was talking about the least of you, the least of me. So it wasn't always the least of them or the least. Sometimes it's the least of me. So he gave them an opportunity to check themselves before he had to do it.
Mm. When I was a kid, we used to say, you better check yourself before you be by yourself.
Uh-huh.
I think also, and watch this, right, when you're talking about separating the righteous and the wicked, I think what comes into play here is motive, right? Your motive. Why? Why are you feeding people? Why are you visiting the sick? Why aren't you doing? What are your motives behind this, right? Because he's big on motives. Why are you doing? What's the purpose of me coming out? Is it so I can lift myself, or is it so I can lift somebody else? Or as the Bible says, what Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw men. But what is your motive for doing it? Why are you so hell bent on helping somebody? I mentioned this, what I was talking about earlier, about how some people won't do it unless there's something in it for them. What's in it for me? I can't do it. Even when he spoke of the people who pray, he said when the people who like to stand out in the middle of the block and pray out loud, and they want to make all these big lengthy prayers. And for what? What was their motive? He said, don't do that. That's not who you're called to be. And so I think when you talk about the righteous and wicked, what is the motive behind what you're doing that makes a big difference, right? Are you doing it out of love for God first, love for people next, right? Or are you doing it simply for love of self? It makes a big difference in the righteous and the wicked, your motives, right? Even when I'm combined Lieutenant Peake and Chaplain Turner, when they were talking earlier, Turner was talking about sitting in the place and in silence, being uncomfortable. Watch this, and then Peake says, I had to ask them what they wanted. Many of us, even as chaplains, we go and we sit down with someone, say in a hospital setting, someone who's depressed, and we sit in silence, mainly because they don't feel like talking. But we take ourselves and what we feel, we kind of force that on them. What am I going to say? How am I going to get them to start talking? And actually, they don't want to talk. And so they just want the company is enough for them. And so what is your motive? I got to force them to talk or I'm not doing it. Right. And so when you talk about the right, what is your motive? I can remember Shirley, when she brought up a story, he brought up a story about helping somebody in the store. Really briefly, I had that same incident. Guy came in the store while I was in there and he asked me, can I buy him something? And I said, sure. I'm expecting to buy him a sandwich or something. This man was shopping in the store. We were in the convenience store. He was shopping. He got some big juice from over there, some fruit powder. He did all this stuff. Right. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, man, if I really going to do all of this, I wouldn't agree to it. It's probably God set me there, put me in that place just so I can be a help to this man. Because why says we take for granted because he asked for something to eat that he made me homeless. But here's what God showed me. He said if he was homeless, he wouldn't need. He ain't gonna put the juice. Right? He all the stuff. He bought stuff in his house. I paid for it. I didn't back out because I already committed. Had I known, I may not have committed to what God wanted me to do in the first place. Because my motives would have been wrong. The righteous and the wicked. It's about your motives.
Got it. Yvette, I saw you just moving. And Kim, I'm gonna get you in a minute, so don't disappear on me.
When you first asked the question, what side would you have been on, righteous or wicked? And right off the top, I said, well, I would have been on the righteous side. But when Chaplain Turner started speaking, I was like, yeah, well, what day did he ask? Because we don't all get it right every day. What time did he ask? Which side will we be on? So prayerfully, hopefully I would have been on the righteous side, but maybe he would have caught me on an off day. Maybe I didn't get it right that day. Maybe that side would have been a wicked side. So I think it's interesting, the question, what side would you have been on? I guess we all prayerfully would like to be on the righteous side, but when are you asking? What time of the day is it? Am I in a mood? Did you catch me on a bad day? 9 times out of 10, I'm always Yvette. I'm always happy. You're never gonna catch me, but maybe one day you will catch me. Maybe you stepped on my toe the wrong day, and I was just on that wicked side. So it's interesting. What side would we have been on? Hopefully, I would have been on the righteous side, but we don't know.
Yeah, Kima.
No, I didn't want to chime in on that. I was I was kind of just agreeing.
Okay,
That was my nod about.
got you, got you. Let me share this with you. I read this in one of my publications I get on a regular basis. Listen, a man went to the town elder, a wise old woman, and said, "Everyone is disloyal to me. My wife is unfaithful. My children don't listen. My workers cheat me. The whole world is against me. What can I do?" The woman smiled and told him a story. In one small village was a house with 1,000 mirrors. Small girl used to sneak inside every day and play. She would clap her hands, and the 1,000 children would clap with her. Seeing thousands of other children around her made her happy. The same house was once visited by an angry man. He saw around him thousands of angry men staring at him. He raised his hand to hit them, and 1,000 hands rose against him. He thought, "This is the worst place in the world," and left. "This world is like a room with 1,000 mirrors," the old woman said. "What we give out is what comes back to us. Like heaven or hell, what we make of it is up to us." So I thought about that. I read that. I was like, you know what? This kind of fits into what we're talking about because, it depends on what day. Sometimes you're, and sometimes you. If somebody just tried to cut you off. I remember the other day I was just driving, coming from the barber shop. This guy got in front of me, just cut right in front of me. I blew the horn. He stuck his head out the window, started cussing me out. I was like, "Dang, man, I was just telling you, if I hit you, then you would have been mad." Cussing me out. I had a car full of people, kids and everything. So I just said, "Lord, you got to bless him out." After I calmed down a little bit because he cut me off, see, we're not exempt from being on the left side. Only by the grace of God are we on the right side.
Right.
And so we don't do the work that we do because we're trying to get saved. We're not doing it because we're trying to get, quote unquote, on the right side. We already are on the right side. We're just trying to maintain our position. And so sometimes things happen and they kind of pull us back to what we naturally know, the natural man. But we've got to understand that, it takes everything that we've got to stay on the right side. And a part of it is by consistently doing those things, engaging in things that keep you on the right side. Because if your mind, when Paul wrote, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind," what he was really saying is that, I can't say that. My interpretation, part of it, of what he was saying is this: if you continuously think on things that are righteous, you'll do righteous things. If you start doing things and your actions speak so loud, people can't hear what you're saying anyway. So if you are consistently doing things that people on the right do, then your likelihood of slipping to the left is less. It's not eliminated, it's just less. Then another thing, watch this. I thought I saw something else when I was looking at listening. No ability to help themselves. Well, that's a loaded statement. People have no ability to help themselves. I don't think that's ever quite right. I think even if a person is a quadriplegic, they have a capacity to help themselves. If it's no more than regulating their mind, if they're able to do that. Because no one is completely helpless. We all have an opportunity to help ourselves in some shape, form, or fashion. We may need, as Kima said, we need somebody to come along beside us. I need somebody to remind me every now and then of who I am. Right? Somebody should remind me of that, because sometimes I forget who God has called me and created me to be. I forget that because I'm pulled by the flesh. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before. I don't know if you've ever felt like, Lord, just remind me of who I am, because I'm feeling mighty low.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing I think is, what do they need help with? Are you helping them with what they need help with, or are you helping them with what you think they need help with?
Or are you helping them with what you need help with?
Right. And what you think they need help with is exactly what you need help with.
Exactly.
Because
But that's probably more the yes than anything else. Because I need the help. So I'm trying to help you because I see it in myself.
Right. Right. And so we talked about asking what, like she said, you can't go wrong with Sour Patches, but ask them what they need, right? What do you need? She wanted to give them a hot plate because in her mind, I see you, and this is how I see you, right? Not if it's right or wrong, but this is my perception of you. And if she'd have never said, well, what do you need? He would have never, you wouldn't have met his need. You'd have met a need, but not his.
Right.
And so when we, to the least of these, helping them with a person that can't help themselves, what can't they help themselves with? Right.
Specifically. Right. Like we have to compartmentalize that, because there are some things that they can do for themselves, but in this area they can't.
Right.
So how can we help you?
What can I do? Okay with what they say, right? Because a lot of times we think, oh, they don't really need that. Because if she would have not listened to him, she wouldn't have heard, I need orange juice and Sour Patch Kids. You don't know, right? Maybe he was having a diabetic moment and he needed something for his diabetes. We don't know, right? That's my point, right? And if you wouldn't have heard him, you would have did what you wanted to do, missed out on what he needed. That's not being a blessing, right? That's just kind of doing, as Laguer said, just so that you can say you did.
That's good. That's good.
The danger in that, I believe, right, a lot of times is we already predetermined, like you said, what we're going to do to help somebody, right, without asking them. And so what happens is when you ask them what they need, since you've already determined in your mind what they need, when they blurt out what they need, much like I said when I was in that store with the guy, you like, yo, I ain't doing that, because you determined that that's not what you really needed. And then I'm going to help you the way I plan to help you. This is what I'm you. I had to determine I was going to spend $5, but that wasn't the case. That's not what they needed at the moment, right? And so when I think about this, and you asked about righteous, there's so many people take this word righteous, and we said we're talking about being righteous and wicked. They take this word righteous to mean faultless, that you don't have no faults, right? But that's not where we at with this when we talk about this. It means there's some similar words I've been like upright, upstanding, decent, worthy. Ethical is the one that sticks out to me the most. Ethical, right? Because I can't call myself righteous if I ask you what you need and tell me what you need and I refuse to give it. Where's the righteousness in that, right? The ethical thing to do when we talk about ethics here, and especially as chaplains, we're big on ethics, right? You know this, Chief Russell, because we taught this, right? We're big on ethics, and so the ethical thing, if you ask somebody what they need, be prepared to give them what they ask for.
Well, and it's interesting. Someone said, Andrea Smith said, love them enough to give them what they need and not what you want.
Right.
Now that's interesting, because I'm gonna put a little twist to that too. Andrea, hear me out now. Once you hear this, it's difficult for us in our human existence to absolutely determine what a person needs, because we always look at it from our perspective, which makes it very difficult to determine what a person actually needs. Normally people will ask you for what they want, but then there are occasions when they ask you for what they need. Ours is not to judge, but to make what we call it in Christianity, we say that you have a discerning spirit.
Yeah.
And so you may ask in your prayers, in your meditation, in your quiet thought, in your relationship with God, Lord, give me clarity about this so that I can do the right thing. You know, as opposed to you trying to decide what that right thing might be, because we may miss it. We may miss it. And as you said, Nakisha, I like this, and both everyone has said this. Sometimes the best thing that you can do for someone is absolutely nothing.
Right.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is sit there and say absolutely nothing. Sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is just take their hand and hold it and don't say a word. But you will only know that if you seek that discerning spirit.
Listening to God.
Yeah, go ahead, Kim. I want you to speak because you haven't spoken in a minute, and I know you're chomping at the bit. I see you over there. I know you got something to say.
Asking them, but always making sure that we're listening to God. And that's what I was gonna digress on. Like just always saying, well, God, what do you want me to do? Having that discernment. And that's why I always pray during situations before I go out for any task. Even, like when it's like those spontaneous moments in the street, just that split second, it's like, okay, God, I need to hear from you. Because a lot of times, it's like, well, I need this from the store. Can you do this? And our empathy may make us react instantly. But that may not always be the right thing. So we always have to just make sure that we hear the voice of God and that we're doing the right thing, because you don't want to give to something and you just gave to something that absolutely shouldn't have been given to, or then they take what you've given and they've used it for something else. And so that was my thing. And listening to this, I always remember, I do hear the voice of God, and I do always seek God, even in those quick moments. Even if I'm standing in the store, it's like, okay, God, I need a yay or nay, or tell me how to move on this.
You know why that's so good? Because a lot of times many of us, we look for explanations. When we're helping people, we want to know why you need that, or how come you need that, right? When it looks like you need so and so, why am I giving you? And what happens, and I've been in this situation when God said to me, He taught me a lesson about this, right? Most of all, it's about being obedient to God, because what happens is someone may come and they ask you for something, they get money or whatever it is. Because there are people, make no mistake about it, who will say, well, I'm going to fool you, pull a little over your eyes, say, I just need juice, I need these other things. And instead of asking you for money because they know they're more apt to get those things, because they feel like they need them, they'll take them around the corner and sell them. Right. And so here's what God had told me this person the other day, because I had this issue. And He said, it doesn't matter what they do with it. That's not up to us. He said, but you have to be obedient. If I tell you to give it, then that's why it's important. Like you said, you ask God, what I'm going to do? Yay or nay, God, how? That's why that's so important, because God said, I told you to give it. I didn't tell you question what they do with it. That's between me and them. And so I had to actually learn that, because I remember, I never forget, somebody was like, well, no, I'm not giving them no money. God told me to give them money. This was a Christian. Don't give them no money. They're just going to use it. God said, no. I told you to give them the money. It's not up to you what they do with it. You just be obedient to what I'm telling you to do. And so that's where we have to really have that discerning spirit. And as you said, seek God in this thing, because we have a habit of saying no. I was in the store, another quick story. A young lady came up to me, asked me, can I buy some food out of Popeyes? I said, yes. She turned around. There was a 99-cent discount store right next door. She said, well, listen, can you take me over there and buy me some stuff? I went over there with her. She bought pants, some clothes, and some hygiene stuff and all that. I paid for it, right? Now, normally people go, no, you want your food. I'm getting your food. But here's what I didn't ask her why or nothing, but here's what God showed me. When I paid for it and walked out the store, when I looked back at the lady, she had a wet spot in her pants. Right. Now imagine me saying, no, I ain't buying you all of that. You want food, I'll feed you. But she was in need of some clothing, some products to clean herself. Right. This is what she really needed. Unbeknownst to me. To me, she needed food. But there were things she asked me for that I took her to get them. And I gotta be transparent. My wife was willing, she eyeballed me a little bit, but she didn't stop me. I took her there, I got it, and that's when I noticed this is what she really needed. To the point where she was like, I don't know, and thank you for this. I don't need the food. I better the food as well. But we have to be cognizant because we don't question why they need what they need. Imagine if I had a question, I should have had to go to the embarrassment of explaining all of this stuff to me. Why she needed it, wet pants, and all the rest of this stuff. That's not for us to determine.
Let me throw this in there. And I want you to think about this. Benevolence is what we give.
Mm-hmm.
It's what we give because we want to help someone who's in need. I've got a challenge for you. How about you do something good for someone, but if they find out that it was you, it doesn't count. You have to do it again. You have to find someone else to do it for. Be an anonymous giver. Give because God has given to you. And I was reading some of the comments that have been made, not because of anything other than the fact that you've been given so many gifts. And there's so many things that you can do for so many people. Give. And if anybody finds out that it was you, it doesn't count. You gotta do it again.
That's good.
So here's the thing. Okay, so listen, we're going to be out of time in not too much longer. So what I want to do is, because there's a few of you here, and I want to give each and every one of you an opportunity to say some things, and the Lord has given me some words to close out on. So I'm going to start with Kima. I'm going to ask you, Kima, if you would just sort of summarize and say whatever it is that you want to say, and I'm going to go to watch this. I'm going to go to Captain Laguer because he's been dominating the conversation. I'm gonna let him go second, and then I'm gonna ask Chaplain Turner to speak, and the last person will speak will be Lieutenant Peak, and then I'll close it out. So you have about 5 minutes each.
All right. I don't think I'll use the whole 5 minutes.
So don't give it to Laguer though. Don't give it to Laguer.
Okay. Although this title of chaplaincy of chaplain is new to me, I've always served that as a chaplain in some capacity. When I came to Calvary Hospital, just being able to kind of just walk around the hospital space and because Calvary is end of life, palliative care hospice. So that space was really, really different for me. So I gained a heart for chaplaincy years ago and didn't really know what it was, didn't really know what the title was, but I began to do the work. Even just having friends and stuff in my life, I've always been helpful, nurturing, prayerful. The work of a chaplain. Didn't even know what it was. So when I, got the opportunity to do it, I said, okay, God, so now I'm putting everything that I've done with everything that I've learned to where I am now. And I really just appreciate everything that I've learned, where I'm at now, because the condition throughout the process of the classes, the condition was right for the greatest of miracles which I see in my life. And it's kind of just, it was in my spiritual DNA. And then I just kind of just learned to embrace it. Because a lot of times, it's like, I'm always giving and I'm always doing and I didn't understand why. But when I learned what the heart of a chaplain was and what the task of a chaplain was and the great work that comes behind it, now to actually walk in the title, I don't necessarily flash the badge all the time, but just being able to walk in the title and being on these forums and just sharing the experience, I am ever so grateful. So I've just become just an overall cornerstone. And I want to be able to just greater do the work outside of what I'm doing now. And I know it takes time, it takes more training, and it takes more learning, and that's why I'm eager to just like seek information from everybody, because I have like I've brought in uh just like my um like it's become so much broader, like now that I am in the hotels with the migrants and stuff. So I have so many ideas and so much that I want to do. And I just thank God for the opportunity that I've had to be a chaplain. And just moving forward, I ask that you all just continue to pray for me and pray for my family, and just ask that, God just continues to just help me just understand the work, because it's not always easy. It hasn't always been easy, but just day by day, and I've learned what makes it easy is because I love what I do and my heart is in what I do. So and and going back to the scripture about the least of these, um, the least of these at one point was me. So that's how I really always learned to be able to help people and pray for people, because that least of them was me at one point. So uh, being able to pray myself through things, now being able to help pray other people through things, I'm grateful for that, and I thank you all.
Thank you. Captain Laguer.
First, I'm gonna say this. I blame you because you made me so comfortable. You brought me back here so much. I feel like I'm at home when I'm talking. But honestly, and I'm gonna shock you here. Why? Is I think that we know that as chaplains, it's a calling on your life, right? Being a chaplain is a calling. Everybody's not called to the office of chaplain, but there is a chaplain in everybody. And I say that to say that we all are put in a position at one point or other where we're going to be able to help someone else. Right? You don't have to have much to help somebody. And so I say that to say mostly, and I know we're all chaplains here, but to people that's looking on, that's watching us, there's a chaplain in you, and all you need to do is when you get around the least of these, you'll know it. Be willing to help someone out of love. Use the love that's in you to help someone else. It'll make you feel so much better. You don't have to be called to the office of chaplain to do the work of a chaplain. And so there's a chaplain in all of us. Make sure you reach down and find yours, and next time somebody else in need. God bless you. That's it.
All right.
So I never wanted to be a chaplain. I didn't. I just said, God, I want to do ministry all the time, but I don't want to be nobody's pastor. That was mine. And then he gave me this. And so it's the thing that brings me joy. It's the thing that I do for fun. And I know you think you're a hospice chaplain. How is that fun? But trust me, it's the thing that brings my heart joy. What I've learned is allow God to fill up the space. Get out the way. You don't always have to talk about God for God to be there, right? We talk about the book of Esther. Nowhere does she mentions God, but we know that God shows up. I've talked to many people who say they don't want to talk to God of many different religions. And by the end of the night, they say God has sent you. And so don't you fill up the space. Allow God to fill up the space with whatever that may look like. And sometimes that's you sitting in silence. Sometimes that's you giving a hug and allowing people to snot on your shoulder. And sometimes that's talking about the people's family and what they look like and how that, whatever that may be. Right. And so as a chaplain, no, it's not the easy thing as Laguer said, but it is the thing that if you're called to do. I've worked a lot. Not one time in 10 years have I got up and said, I don't want to go to my job. Not one time. And so if this is for you, go for it. If you feel God calling you to do this, but do it correctly. So one, you do not cause any harm. right? You do not cause any harm. And two, you allow God to be the center of it all, whether it is in whatever they call their divine, he, she, unicorn. I know it's crazy, but he, she, unicorn. You allow God to be whatever that person needs him to be.
Amen. Amen. Well, I have to go back and say I thank God for allowing me to be a part of this chaplaincy and a part of my Antioch family. Like Keenan said, at one point I was the least of these, right? At one point, I've lost my authentic self, and being part of this group and being a part of my Antioch family, I know how to shine, but not only shine for myself, but to shine for the kingdom, to let my anointing shine. To stand on that skinny branch and do it anyway. I love the fact that the chaplaincy group that I am, we're an awesome team, and I love coming to our first of the month meeting. It makes a difference. It tells each other what we are doing, and if one of us need help, we can go out and help that person. So again, I thank God for this chaplaincy. I thank God for my Antioch family, and I thank God for just choosing me. He didn't have to, but he chose me, and I thank God for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys. This has been really, really inspirational for me. I'm gonna take my time to do this because we got a little time left over. But if I finish what I'm doing in enough time, we'll kind of have a sort of closing out conversation because you guys took less time than I anticipated. So that was interesting. But I was reading some of the comments that people were making. I mean, just amazing things that people were saying and they're thinking. And by the way, I want you guys to know who are watching. I didn't miss anything. I've read every comment that has been made, every single one of them. And I'm just amazed at what I see. I'm amazed at the way in which you think and the way in which you view this conversation. And although you couldn't join us physically and comment, your comments are well appreciated. I mean, really, really well appreciated. And I'm so glad that you were here with us. It's been great. It's been great. And so let me then do what the Lord has placed on my heart and share this with you. In an email conversation that I had with ShaKemia earlier today, she shared with me what she shared somewhat with you. She didn't go into details, but she said she had a discouraging day. But her purpose for chaplaincy, and I dare say her life, would not let her sink into an evening of despair.
Right.
I read a quote that captured, for me anyway, what I thought was the essence of Chaplain ShaKemia's comment and her commitment. It read, "Death is not the biggest fear we have. Our biggest fear is taking the risk to be alive. The risk to be alive and express what we really are." See, what you really are is someone who helps, someone who can't stand by and watch someone suffering through and not try to extend a helping hand. That's the part about you and each and every one of you that really captures my heart. It has been argued that there are rare leaders who have the courage to commit to authentic personal transformation that will enrich the world around them. It's rare because it takes not only ambitious and powerful objectives, but it requires that the leader perpetually, that means always, give the very best they have to offer, especially when they're misunderstood, ridiculed, and even crucified. Maya Angelou said, "I always do my best because I'm depending on you to depend on me." No one can enrich or bless others, let alone impact the world, if they're not first courageous, then committed, and completely transformed. You've got to be able to step outside of yourself and do it from the inside out. From the inside out. It's what's going on in you that's causing the things happen around you. keep the fire burning. Someone once said, if you catch fire for the Lord, people will come just to watch you burn.
Mm.
Catch fire so that people will be able to feel the heat, and they'll want to be, they'll draw closer to the flame. And if you need someone to help you to keep the flame growing, find them. Find someone who can help you. Find someone that you can use as your mentor, someone who can encourage you, someone who can help keep the fire burning. There's nothing I need to add to what's been said tonight, except that you must be bold enough to follow your spirit, to learn, and then be the one who gives tender, loving care to the least of these. Not sometimes, not most of the time, but all of the time. Be big enough to be yourself no matter what anybody else might think. Thank you, Captain Laguer, Lieutenant Peake, Chaplains Turner, and Williams. I can't tell you how proud I am to be in ministry with you. It is only by the grace of God that I get the blessed opportunity to serve as your chief chaplain. And as all of you have said, it wasn't something I had planned. It wasn't something I had intended to do. But when the opportunity presented itself and I prayed about it, the Lord said, yeah, you have to do this. You must. But as you all know, the most effective leadership is done by those who recognize that they serve the people that they lead. So I'm grateful that you allow me to be of service to you. Now, by the comments that were made from those who are Matters of Faith family, as I call them, and those who are visiting with us tonight, you don't have to stop visiting. Come every Monday night, we do this. But the Matters of Faith family appreciated everything that was done tonight. So I thank you for taking time out of your really busy schedules to bless this branch of the Lord's kingdom. We don't take it lightly, and I'm certain the Lord will reward you handsomely for the commitment that you made to come here tonight, no matter how and no matter what was pulling on you to do something different. Captain Laguer has been a regular guest. You already know that. And I want each of you to be just as frequent as he has been, if that's okay with you, because I'll have you come back. Is that okay with you? Y'all all right with that? Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
First time was the worst. Nervous.
Really?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
time. Now, don't forget our sponsors and advertising. The JLR company, J. Lauren R. Consulting, LLC. That's my company. For all your church financial needs. As I said, we do trustee training. We do evangelism training. You guys know that we talk about, and it's eclectic. Whatever needs to be done to build the body of Christ, that's what we do. All your church financial needs. You need to grow, you need to build, you want to do development stuff. Let me know. I can help you. Visit our website, www. If you've never visited the website, visit my website, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com, www.jlaurenrussellconsulting.com. It's not about the castle. It's about the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is within. Matters of Faith, the book. Now, I know the book I said was $22, but since we started talking, the cost of postage then went up. So the cost for the book is actually $24.30. This is the book. If you don't have a book, if you don't have this book, you need to get it. Now, this is the hard copy. All you have to do is go to my Cash App, $ Matters of Faith, and you can get it. Just put your information in. $24.30 covers shipping and handling. But if you get it as an ebook, there is no shipping and no handling. www.smashwords.com/books/view/993-177. Now, please remember to subscribe to Better Mag Magazine, www.abettermag.com. The Yonkers Insider and the Bronx Chronicle are free publications. Better Mag Magazine is a paid publication, but it's only $27 for 3-year subscription. So please support those who support this venue, this Matters of Faith venue. And don't forget, please subscribe, like, and share our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Telephone, text, email, message, any way you do it. Tell a friend to join me next week on Matters of Faith, the radio show. That's what I call it, because we started on the radio. I can't tell you what the topic will be, but I can tell you this. You don't want to miss it. We'll be live on Matters of Faith and the J. Law and Russell Facebook groups. And then we'll drop the episode on our Matters of Faith YouTube channel. That's what we're going to do with this tonight. We're going to drop it on our YouTube channel. So please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel. Because once we get a critical mass, I want to take the forum from Facebook to YouTube. But I can only do that if I have a critical mass. So please, ma'am, please, sir, tell a friend, tell them to subscribe, like, and share the Matters of Faith YouTube channel, and join us every Monday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Now, the Lord bless you, the Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Now, if no one told you this today, then let me be the first to say it. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. So get next to it. God bless you and good night. Now, y'all don't just disappear. You stay right there. Okay, hold on for 1 second. Everybody just stop.